everyone, we might make a start now. So my name is Sally and I'm one of the occupational therapists here at LifeTec. So welcome to today's webinar on equipment for people living with vision impairment. I just wanted to let you all know before we start that I've muted all the sites just so that we can't all hear each other talking. There's a lot of feedback as well and we can all hear each other talking. But you can use the chat box for any questions or comments throughout the presentation. And I will be having a question time at the end as well. So before I get started, I just wanted to check that everyone can see and hear me okay. If you could just let me know in the chat box. Okay, thanks guys. Before I launch into talking about the equipment, I just wanted to let everyone know about LifeTec services, for those of you who might not be so familiar with LifeTec. So LifeTec is a not-for-profit organisation that provides information and advice on assistive technology. So assistive technology is all about helping people do the things that they want to be able to do, so reaching their goals, being independent and living their lives to the fullest. So we've put together some pictures that capture the use of assistive technology in various populations and for various activities. So you can see that assistive technology is really very broad. It helps a lot of different people do a lot of different activities. And I believe that there's almost a piece of equipment out there to help any person who's experiencing any difficulty with their day-to-day tasks. So we believe that we're leaders when it comes to assistive technology because that's our focus. We're staffed by occupational therapists and we also have a physio and a speaker here at LifeTec. So the most important thing to remember about LifeTec is that we don't actually sell the equipment. We're an information service, so we let people know what's available and where you can go to get it. So in that way we're non-biased. We're not trying to sell any equipment. So if people are living close to Brisbane or Townsville, they can pop into our display centre. It's set up a bit like an IKEA showroom, so there's lots and lots of equipment in different rooms throughout the display, and it's a nice way for people to be able to see the equipment in concept and try out the equipment as well. So for people who have trouble making it into Brisbane and Townsville, we do travel roughly 2 hours on a day-to-day basis from Brisbane and Townsville as required. So this is a free service as well. All of our advisory services are free. The only time that we have to act as a private service and pay is when we're doing formal assessments and prescribing equipment, just because we're not funded to do that. So for people who just need advice over the phone, they can call through to our 1300 number. So clients might call through, or service providers, therapists might call through, and you can tell us the situation and we can do some research and let you know possible solutions or options. You can also email through to our inquiries line, and we can respond to you that way as well. So for people living in rural and remote areas that aren't close to Brisbane or Townsville, we're also a statewide service. So we travel right throughout Queensland. The state's split up into different regions, and we visit each region once or twice throughout the year. And we also do lots of education, so education to service providers and therapists, but also to clients. So if you're working with clients who might be interested in a free community presentation on a particular topic surrounding equipment, we can organise that as well. So if you haven't jumped onto our website already, have a look on there, especially when you are looking for different equipment options. Basically, if you're looking for cutlery, for example, you can go under eating and drinking, and then there'll be forks, knives and spoons. You can click which one you want, and then look at, for example, different pictures of forks, a description, and where you go to order or purchase the equipment. There's also fact sheets on there that are at a client level, so it might be nice to hand out to your clients depending on the situation, and also our outreach schedule and education calendars on there as well. And we're in the process of developing a national database at the moment, so I always jump on there when I need to know a bigger range of equipment, because all of Australia, the independent living centres, have combined their information. We're just at the stage where we've just got the name of the product, picture, and the suppliers, so it hasn't got all the detailed information, but it's good to get an idea of a bigger range of equipment on there. So we might get started on the equipment side of things. Equipment for people living with a vision impairment. So before we started, I just wanted to run through the meaning of vision impairment, low vision, and legal blindness. So people often assume vision impairment means being blind, but there are actually a low percentage of people who are completely blind. Most have low vision. So a definition of vision impairment or low vision is when the eyesight is reduced and cannot be corrected with glasses or contact lenses. A definition of legal blindness, you might have heard this term before. So this doesn't actually mean completely blind either. It's a term used by the Australian government to determine eligibility for government pensions. So if someone has quite a significant vision impairment, they might go to their optometrist who determines their level of vision, and then they can apply to Centrelink for the blind pension, which is like the disability pension, but it isn't means tested. The taxi subsidy scheme, which gives the person half-price taxis, and the Queensland Transport Travel Pass, which gives the person free public transport. So some common vision impairments. Glaucoma refers to build-up of pressure in the eye. So it usually involves loss of side vision, blurry parts of central vision, and it's a genetic condition which usually occurs in people over 40. Macular degeneration refers to damage to the macula of the eye, which causes decreased central vision. And this condition occurs mostly in older people. Retinitis pigmentosa, or RP, causes tunnel vision, night blindness, and difficulty with glare. It's a genetic condition, and it can start at a range of ages and can progress slowly or quickly. Diabetic retinopathy occurs when diabetes causes the blood vessels at the back of the eye to break, which causes this patchy vision. And cataracts causes clouding of the lens, which causes this blurry vision and difficulty with glare and bright light. So cataracts can often be removed, but sometimes people will be waiting a long time to have this surgery done and will be living with cataracts for a long time. Monomyopia is caused by stroke or brain injury, where the brain loses the ability to process parts of the visual field. So there's 4 principles to remember when thinking about equipment and strategies for people with vision impairment that I'll continuously refer back to throughout today's webinar. They are bigger, bolder, brighter, and bumpier. So some really basic examples for bigger that you'd be surprised how many people don't actually try it out is just sitting closer to the TV or on a larger TV screen. Bolder, so thinking about increasing the colour contrast to increase the visibility. So the higher the colour contrast, the better the visibility. So some examples would be chopping onions on a bright red chopping board instead of a white chopping board, eating steak on a white plate on a red placemat, or putting black tape around the edge of the toilet, especially for the blokes. Brighter, consider lighting and cutting out glare, and I'll talk more about this throughout the webinar. And bumpier, so thinking about other sensors to find buttons or different items around the home, so putting tactile indicators or labels on different items to identify them. And Vision Australia actually has some really good information up on their website about how to label items to identify them. And they also have therapists that work there that should be able to pop out and see your clients to help them label and indicate and put indicators on various appliances and things throughout the house. So there's many aids to assist with reading and seeing fine detail. I'll talk about these from low-end technology, which are suitable for someone with a slight vision impairment, to high-end equipment, which is more suitable for someone with a significant vision impairment. So there's a really large range of handheld magnifiers, and they've come a long way. They're really very good these days. So the person can choose the level of magnification they require. They can choose the type of lighting they have within the magnifier if light helps with visibility. So they can choose a yellow light or a white light or a combination of both. And this really helps to increase the contrast of that black text that you're reading. So I guess the issue with handheld magnifiers is that the higher the magnification a client needs, the smaller the lens needs to be. So if someone needs a 15 times magnifier or 15 times magnification, they would have to have a really small magnifying lens, and they might only be able to read half a word at a time. So it's very slow and fatiguing to read any length. And I'll talk about where you go from there if magnifying glasses aren't an option. So sometimes the magnification doesn't work for a person, but lighting does. So lighting is really personal. Vision Australia has some really good information on their website about using lighting. So a lot of people, they talk about using, considering task lighting, so lamps, as well as room lighting, so overhead lighting. For room lighting, a lot of people like fluoro bulbs with the daylight light. So daylight bulbs actually mimic daylight and have a nice wide beam. For task lighting, a lot of people like LED lights because they have a narrow beam and direct light straight onto the task. And you can also get combination magnifying lights. So most of these are on a movable arm and you can direct them over what you're working on. So it's really important for people to be able to try out different magnifier and lighting options and get advice on them. So I'll always recommend for people to go to low vision clinics. So there's optometrists or ophthalmologists there who are trained in or specialising in low vision, so really specialise on the magnifiers and lighting. So they can do an assessment with the client and work out what level of magnification they need. So if you want to find out where the low vision clinics are near your clients, you can give us a call. Otherwise, if you're in a more rural or remote area, optometrists should be able to give clients advice on the level of magnification they require. So portable electronic magnifiers are like a handheld magnifier, except they're electronic. So they take a photo of the image and then you can blow it up. So they move away from that magnification principle of the bigger you have to go, the smaller the lens needs to be. So you can have as many words as what will fit on the screen, depending on how big the screen is and how big you need to. So you can also change the colour contrast on most of them. So some people will find it easier to read white text on a black background. A lot of them you can take a photo of something and then freeze it and look at it up here. So you might take a photo of a price tag that's down low, and then you can bring it back up here and zoom in and change the colour contrast and do what you need to do. So these range in price from around $150 to $3,000. So I tried to include a couple of less expensive options on this slide. So they really range in price depending on quality, the size of the screen, and the level of magnification they do. A lot of the electronic magnifiers only read things that are directly underneath the camera, and I've had a couple of clients lately who were interested in seeing things that are more far away, so street signs, house numbers, menus behind the counter at shops, and there are a couple of options that work for that. And I've actually applied through the KT funding scheme, which I'll talk more about later on, for options like that, that help a person to be able to get out and see the prices and their shopping and food menus and that sort of thing. And there are also options that have larger screens. So if someone wants to be able to read more of a page at a time, for example, there's options that are nice and portable still, but have a larger screen size. So it really just depends on what the client wants to be able to do with the device and how much magnification they need and what their budget is as well. So closed circuit televisions or CCTVs are the same as the portable video magnifiers, but they're the same principle. So they take a photo of the text in real time and blow it up onto a screen. So the screen is actually a lot bigger than the portable magnifiers. They're usually about the size of a computer screen. So there's lots and lots of different suppliers that supply all these types of electronic magnifiers, and I've just tried to include examples of different types throughout the webinar today. So the picture on the left is an example of one with a movable tray underneath. So you can pop your newspaper or your bill underneath and move it around to read it. These are priced at about $2,500 to $7,000 depending on the make and model. I wanted to include a less expensive option. So the JB wide video magnifier, the picture in the middle, available from Vision Australia. It's like a computer mouse that plugs into your TV or your computer. You run it over the text that you need to read, and it blows it up onto your screen, and we can also change the colour contrast as well. And there are also CCTVs that have a pivoting camera. So the picture on the right there, you can point the camera down to read, or if you're writing, and then you can see it blowing up onto the screen. You could point the camera onto your face to do your makeup or your hair, or you could point it onto a family member's face, or even into the distance to see the letterbox or a whiteboard if you're at school or studying. If none of these options will work, the client may need to look at audio options. So there are devices that take a photo of a document and speak it out through optical character recognition, or OCR. So there's the picture on the left shows the type that is on a frame. It's nice and portable, so it plugs into your computer and it takes a photo from above and then will speak it out. The picture on the right is shows the type that is more like a scanner. So you scan the page that you want to read and it will speak it out. So these sorts of devices will read text but not handwriting. Vision Australia loans the Daisy player, so there's a monthly subscription, and it's like an e-reader, but it's designed for people with a vision impairment, so it's nice and easy to access. And with the subscription, you tick off the books you want to read every month, and they send you out CDs, and then you send them back and get more. So it's a bit like a library service as well. So next I'll be talking about food preparation. So for eating, there's plate guards which stop food falling off the plate. So these are a really nice and flexible guard that can go onto lots of different size plates. Nice because the client can take it out with them and pop it onto their food after it comes out at a restaurant or cafe. The Dyson placemats, so these provide a colour contrast and also provide a non-slip surface, so the client has a nice stable surface to work from when they're eating. And phone tubing. You can get this in lots of different colours, so it can assist with visibility, as well as helping to build up the grip of the cutlery. So you can buy phone tubing from a lot of hardware stores and cut it down to size as required. For making hot drinks, a lot of people will want to make their tea or coffee in a white mug, just so the liquid colour contrast with the cup. You can get liquid level indicators, which beep when the liquid gets to the top, and some of them have 2 prongs, so it'll beep when the boiling water gets to the top, and then beep when the milk gets to the system top. People will often want to use the microwave instead of the kettle. Instead of kettles, I often recommend small urns as well, so that clients can press a button rather than having to aim and pour a kettle. And a lot of the newer urns, you can set in the size of the mug so that it will automatically stop when you do it at the top, and then you will even need the liquid level indicator. So for food preparation, there's a glass boil alert, which rattles when the water is boiling. The picture in the middle is the Vivo vegetable strainer. It's a silicone colander, and you can put your rice or your veggies or anything you want to boil in there, pop it into the saucepan, let it cook in there, and then pull it out once it's cooled down and finished. And it just means that you don't need to have to pick up that heavy saucepan and pour it into the strainer and sink. It all strains out into the saucepan. And you can also get liquid measuring dispensers to put salad dressing or sauces on food or cook for cooking, just so you know you're putting out an even amount. For chopping, options where fingers are out of the way are ideal. So there's different holders that are available that are different sizes, so that you can hold the food from up here, fingers out of the way, and then you also have a guide for slicing. The safe slice acts as a barrier between the knife and the hand, and this is available from the internet and some kitchen stores as well. Food processors can be really great to keep your fingers out of the way and do everything a bit more quickly as well. So for people who have enough strength in their hands, manual food processors can be good. The Thermomix, the picture in the middle there, basically does everything for you, so you can pop your ingredients in and it'll chop it and mix it and cook it for you. And I quite like the Tactile electric food processor. It comes with different colour contrasted blades that correspond to different functions. So I mentioned this at the start, thinking about contrasting your chopping board with what you are chopping up. So you can get sets of coloured chopping boards, and they're designed usually so that if you're chopping up strawberries, you do it on the red chopping board. Obviously, for people with the vision impairment, it's the opposite. So if you're chopping up strawberries, you might do it on the white chopping board. I mentioned this at the start of the webinar as well. So on appliances like the microwave and stove, you might put high contrast tactile indicators on important buttons, and that's just a screenshot of one of the fact sheets on Vision Australia's website on how to indicate different appliances. And the therapist at Vision Australia should be able to assist clients with this as well. For measuring and baking, there's talking measuring jugs and talking kitchen scales. So for the measuring jug, you pop in what type of liquid is in there and it will measure it out. So there's lots of different equipment for finding objects. So things like food, clothes, medication, CDs. And I guess a nice simple strategy to start off before looking at equipment options is those different labelling strategies. So as I mentioned at the start of the webinar, on Vision Australia's website, there's really good information about how to label different items to make them easier to find. And I guess it's just about for the client being organised as well, so knowing where everything is. So to help find objects, the client can use different types of magnifiers, including the smartphone magnifiers, which I'll talk about a bit later on. They might use a barcode reader to find items like food in the pantry. So with this, the client scans a barcode on different food items. They might use it at home or out shopping. So it comes with headphones, so it's a nice discreet option for shopping. I've tried it out before and it's really quite accurate. It's even works for the Coles brand food items for me. It also comes with recordable barcodes, so for items that don't have barcodes on, you can record your own message and attach it onto different items. They are expensive, so it's about $1,000, but it is funded through the Lions Visual Independence Foundation. The Touch Memo audio labeler is supplied by Vision Australia and it costs about $150. It comes with stickers, which you can record a message on and then stick onto various items, so medication, CDs, clothes. It even comes with washable stickers that can go through the wash. And then when the client touches the pen onto the sticker, it will speak out what the pre-recorded message is. So it doesn't, you do need to take the time to record all your messages. It doesn't speak it out like with the barcode reader, the food item. So self-care. There's different types of colour detectors, so you build it up to a piece of clothing, for example, and it would give you a basic description. And there's also elastic shoelaces, so the client can avoid having to do up their shoelaces each time. They can just slip their shoes on. There's contrasted toilet seats, and there's also talking blood glucose monitors, talking scales, talking thermometers, and talking blood pressure monitors. So the picture on the right there is the Sensor Card Plus, which speaks out all the instructions and results. I mentioned at the start of the webinar using a CCTV with a fitting camera to help with doing makeup, hair, nails. For people with a lower level vision impairment, there's different magnifying glass options. So magnifying tweezers. I've tried these out. You can't use them to tweeze your eyebrows, just because the magnifier distorts in the mirror, but you can use it for squeezes and that sort of thing. Magnifying nail clippers. And the magnifying mirrors can be quite nice as well. So some of them have an LED light installed, so they can make it really nice and bright and large. Recreation and daily tasks. So watching TV. There's TV magnification glasses, the Max TV glasses. These magnify up to 2.1 times, and then the client can try sitting closer to the TV as well. You can focus each eye individually, so good for people who have difficulty focusing their eyes together. You can also get magnifying sheets that go over the TV, but I believe these are only available for smaller size TVs. There's different styles of remotes available. So if someone's just wanting a basic TV remote with only the really important buttons, they might go for the tactile remote. Or if someone needs to be able to select particular channels and use Foxtel and a DVD player, they might go for the universal remote on the right there. Vision Australia sells the Hills Talking set-top box, which speaks out the electronic program guide and speaks out all the channels and what's on as you're scrolling through. For sewing and craft, there's self-threading needles. So you still do need some vision and dexterity to use self-threading needles, but you do need less vision than having to thread through the eye of the needle. You can buy pre-threaded needles. There are needle threaders available for purchase, which are very affordable as well. And the client might want to consider some hands-free magnification options, which there are plenty of those available as well. So there are lamps and magnifiers designed specifically for craft work. The picture on the left has a magnifier on the movable arm, a light, and a clip for you to attach what you're working on, so you've got both in three. And as I mentioned earlier, using a CCTV with a pivoting camera, you can point these onto your hands and your sewing and craft work, and then look at it magnified onto the screen. Different types of games available. There's large print bingo, cards, board games. There's audible games available. So audible boards will have bells inside. There are social groups where clients will play blind cricket and goal ball, and these involve balls which have a bell inside so they can hear where it's coming from. And there's also tactile options like tactile chess and tactile connect board. For building, there's talking tape measures and audible spirit levels. And again, have a look on Vision Australia's website regarding this, because there's some good information on carpentry for people with a vision impairment. For managing money, I guess it's really important to encourage clients to organise their money before they leave the house so they know where everything is. A lot of people will have more difficulties with coins than notes because they can often still see the colour on the note. But if they are having trouble seeing the notes, there's different wallets available that have different length slips, plastic slips, to correspond to the different lengths of each note. There's $2 and $1 coin holders as well, which is the picture down in the bottom left. So basically the client can put all their $2 coins in one before they leave the house, and then all their $1 coins in another. And then they might have a really nice big wallet where everything's nice and organised. Keep the coin holders with their gold coins in one compartment and their silver in another. A lot of ATMs are audio now, so the client can take along a pair of headphones and listen to their options spoken out. You'll notice that a lot of keypads also have a tactile indicator on the side. So the client eventually can learn that they need to go up to 8 and down to 2 and to the right to 6 and to the left to 4, for example. So in terms of phones, there's lots of phones available that have big buttons. There's mobile phones available that have big buttons. The picture on the left there is an example of one. So this speaks out each number that is pressed as well. It only does checks and calls, so nice and simple. And it's got an emergency button on the back. So if all else fails and the client's having trouble writing the numbers, they can press that button and it works through a list of 5 pre-programmed numbers. The clients who are with Telstra actually provides free specialised phones through the Telstra Disability Service for anyone who can't use a STEM phone. Telstra also has the Disability Inquiry line, so for clients who are having trouble using the phone book, they can actually call that number and speak to someone, and they put them through to whoever they're looking for free as well. For smartphones, there's voice dialing, so you can use voice commands and tell your phone what you want it to do rather than having to use a touch screen. A lot of smartphones have inbuilt accessibility, which I'll touch on a bit later on. If the phone has, or doesn't have voice dialing, or it's a bit inaccurate, you can get separate hands-free devices to go with your phone. So the Blue Air hands-free speakerphone is a little additional extra that you can purchase from Officeworks or Dick Smith, and it makes the phone completely hands-free. You can look at audio output on the phone, so speaking out whatever's on the screen. There's the Talk software for Nokia phones that makes it speak out everything, and a lot of the smartphones have inbuilt accessibility with screen readers so that it will speak out everything that's on the phone. And you can also sometimes download audio apps if they don't have this. So mobility and safety. Some ideas for home modifications. High contrast non-slip step nosing, just to, make the edge of each step stand out and also add some slip resistance. The client can also consider putting down some high contrast non-slip tape or painting the edge of each step or any hazards throughout the house. Considering appropriate lighting throughout the house, so maybe thinking about putting in LED lights over the kitchen benches, stoves and mirrors to direct light directly onto that surface. Also consider colour contrast throughout the house, so maybe having darker carpet with lighter couches and lighter walls, for example. So glare can really affect people with a vision impairment more than people without a vision impairment. So having a good pair of sunglasses is really important. The fit over sunglasses cut out glare from all angles. They fit over spectacles, and you can choose different frames and lenses. So the black lenses are really dark and block out glare at a higher level. A lot of people with a vision impairment, when they put on a pair of sunnies, they will say that everything gets really dark. So the orangey lenses cut out the glare, but don't cut out the amount of light, so everything's still nice and bright, and the person can even potentially wear them inside. Different types of canes available, so there's the support cane, which is like a walking stick but it's white to identify the person. There's the ID cane, which just identifies the person as having a vision impairment. And you might have also seen the identification badges you can get as well. And a long cane for someone with a more significant vision impairment. So you can refer on to Guide Dog Queensland or Vision Australia if you think that your client's having difficulty with their mobility and safety in the community or even at home. They do assessments and work out what type of device is most appropriate, if any, and then do the training as well. Electronic mobility aids. So again, Vision Australia and Vital Queensland help with providing grants and assessment and training with electronic mobility aids. So there's different types of GPS options which speak out what's in the client's environment, and you can program in different routes as well. And there's different types of devices that have beams that come out the front, so the Ultra, Attain and the Magnifiers. And basically this makes the device vibrate when there's something in front. So for example, if you're using a cane, it only picks up what's on the ground. If there's a branch or something overhead, it won't pick that up. But the Ultra cane and Magnifiers help to be able to pick that up. So as I mentioned, Vision Australia and Vital are the people to go refer to if your clients are having trouble with their mobility and safety. So next I'll be talking about mainstream technology. So smartphones and tablets that you can purchase commercially. So there's different platforms, each with different applications that I will be talking about next. So iOS devices refer to the iPhone, the iPod and the iPad. These are nice because they all look the same or very similar, so they all have the light screen button and the very similar on and off and lock buttons. They all have very similar accessibility options. So there's VoiceOver, where you run your finger over the screen and it spits out what's under your finger. There's Zoom, where it zooms everything on the screen nice and big. You can change the text size and change the colour contrast as well. There's inbuilt Siri in newer models. So that's a voice command where you can say, call Kate, and it will call through to Kate. You can't download external hardware into iOS devices or external software, so you can't plug in a USB. So the client needs to use it directly or with a Bluetooth keyboard. Can't plug in specialized keyboard or specialized mouse options. The nice thing about iOS devices is that there's lots and lots of apps as well. So these are free and purchasable. There's a website called Applebus, so www.applebus.com, which reviews the accessibility and usefulness of various apps for people with a visual impairment. So some different themes that come up throughout the apps that are there for people with, or that might help people with a visual impairment. E-readers, so a client can download the book they want to read and then use the VoiceOver or the Zoom to make it accessible to read. There's different magnifiers available. So these vary, that can be free or they can be paid. They're a lot less expensive than the electronic magnifiers that I talked about earlier, but they're not as good quality either. So they work through the camera in the iOS device, which isn't as good as the camera that are in purpose-built devices. So those are a couple that have good reviews, Vision Assistant, Video Magnifier. Optical character recognition. So there are a couple of apps that you can take a photo of text and then use VoiceOver and run your finger over each line to speak it out. So again, not as good as the purpose-built devices, but it's worth looking at because the cost of it is quite affordable. different orientation apps which tell the client what's going on around them, what public facilities are around them, and different routes as well. If the client's phone doesn't have Siri, or if they're having trouble writing messages with VoiceOver or the Zoom, and they're finding Siri not accurate enough, they can download Dragon Dictation for free, and this works really well in speaking out what you want to pop into your text. There's lots of different types of utilities as well. So colour scanners, different barcode scanners that work with VoiceOver, and even different apps that come with labels that you can record your message on as well. There's different apps where you can take a photo of something and then it will search what it is as well through the internet that work with those accessibility options like VoiceOver and Zoom. And some clients will even shop on their iOS device. So the Coles and Woolworths apps reportedly work with the VoiceOver and the accessibility options as well. Android devices, there's a lot more variability with Android devices, a lot of different phones and tablets available. Again, these have inbuilt accessibility, but this really varies because there's so many different types of makes and models available. A nice thing about the Android devices is that you're able to plug, or for some of the Android devices, you can plug in a USB device, so you can sometimes plug in a specialized keyboard or mouse if the device has a USB adapter. Again, you're unable to download external software, and I think there might be less apps for people with vision impairment. But similar sorts of themes in the apps available for people with vision impairment. There is increased customization with Android, so you can download different interfaces that really simplify what the person can see on the screen for someone with a vision impairment. Because there's not that inbuilt accessibility in all the in all the Android devices, sometimes the client might need to download external apps to make their email accessible, for example. Different Windows, laptops and tablets. So there's Windows XP, Vista 7, 8 or 8.1. Again, there's inbuilt accessibility, so screen readers and magnifiers. And the Windows 8 magnifier has really come a long way. It used to be a small section of the screen that was magnified, and now you can magnify the whole screen at once. You're able to plug in external hardware, so specialized keyboards and mouse options, and you're able to download external software. Except for the new Windows tablets that have come out, you can't download external software onto the Windows RT tablet. It needs to be the Windows 8 tablet. So we made up a fact sheet on accessibility options for people with a vision impairment, which steps you through all of those options and instructions on how to set these up. So different software options. There's the Dolphin Guide software, which is an interface that sits over the computer. You don't need to use a mouse with it, and if the client needs to write an email, they press 1, and it speaks out all the options as well and will open up the email. So a really nice simplified option for people who are just wanting to do basic computer tasks. Zoom Text is a magnification software that magnifies at a higher and better quality than the inbuilt accessibility options in Windows. And it comes with different pointers and cursors, and it's a screen reader as well. Dragon naturally speaking, the client can talk into a microphone and it will type out what they want to write instead of them having to type. And JAWS is a screen reader, so it's a completely non-visual display. The client will navigate with their keyboard, and they don't need a screen or a mouse at all. Different hardware options. So different keyboards. There's the EasySeek keyboard, which comes in different color options. The Clever keyboard, which has bigger keys that are colored, and they're really individualized keys, so good for people with movement difficulties as well. If the client wants to keep their keyboard that they have already, they can consider putting high contrast stickers onto the keyboard or tactile indicators onto the home keys. So Vision Australia has adaptive technology trainers that can assist clients with their computer setup and learning different ways of accessing the computer. There's also computer training packages on their website which go through various topics like learning different shortcuts to minimise having to use a mouse to find things, or using screen readers for different documents. So to finish off, I wanted to mention funding briefly. So there's a Community Aid Equipment and Assistive Technology Initiative, or CATI for short, which is run through Disability Services. It provides up to $10,000 for clients who are under 65 to use over the next 3 years for equipment that helps them access the community. And when we're looking at that computer access equipment, it can be to help clients communicate within a cyber community as well. There's some funding available through Queensland Blind Association. So the client needs to be a member of CBA and they need to be legally blind to be a member. But they will look at providing up to $1,000 for people to use towards equipment, dependent on the individual situation. And then there's those usual funding schemes like DBA and Education Queensland and Workplace Modification Schemes. And we've also created a fact sheet on funding options, which is on our website. So to finish off, I wanted to bring everyone back and summarise the 4 Bs. So bigger, bolder, brighter, and bumpier. And also thinking about using other sensors, so using hearing as well with all the two types of equipment. Was there any questions? If you could just write any questions in the text box, that would be great, or otherwise let me know if you don't have any questions. So Maria has just said that Liz from Vision Australia has something to say. Liz, would you? So Maria has said no need to make an appointment to see all the equipment. Just pop in unless there is a large group, and all you need to do is let us know. So Liz, are you saying that for people to pop into Vision Australia, they don't need to make an appointment, they just need to pop in unless there is a large group, and then let Vision Australia know. Thanks for that, Liz. And that's another thing with LifeTec services. People don't need to pop in, people don't need to make an appointment. They can just pop in as well. unless there is a particularly large group or wanting to look at really specialised equipment. So, yeah, just to clarify, Vision Australia, there's no appointment necessary to see the equipment. If you haven't been to Vision Australia already, do pop in and see them. They're at Quickaroo, and I believe there's other service offices throughout Queensland as well, and they've got lots of equipment there to see and try out. Any other questions or comments? Question from Maria. What is your full name and where do you from, Sally? My full name is Sally Redman. And what was the last bit of the question, Maria? Where do I come from? Office location. So I'm at the Newmarket office. Yeah, and that's where we're running the webinar from today. Any other questions? Shelley's asked, is it possible to get a copy of the slides? Shelley, I believe that Jenny sent out a copy of the slides yesterday. So have a look at your email, and if you haven't got them, just send us a quick email and we can send it to you. Question from Liz. Vision Australia encourage professionals to use fact sheets that Sally mentioned in the webinar. Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, so the fact sheets on Vision Australia's website are really handy, and I refer to them all the time. And Liz has also said to fall through to Vision Australia if you need any help as well. Any other questions or comments? All right, well, I'll be hanging around here for a little bit afterwards. So if anyone does have any other questions, just pop them through to the chat box. Otherwise, thank you so much for spending the last hour with me. So from Vision Australia, there's also just another comment that Vision Australia has education bursaries as well. So thanks for that, and get in contact with Vision Australia if you would like more information on that. And there's our details as well, so pop in and see us, give us a call or an email, or jump onto our website if you'd like any further information on any client situation relating to assistive technology. So thanks again, everyone, and I might run into you in the future. So bye.